What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show. We're recording this Monday morning, bright and early, after a very, very lame Sunday of baseball, all day baseball, no offense to be found. Logan was at the game last night. That's a hell of a fun game to go to. Scott, what's up?
What's up? Yeah, it was nice little Sunday. Had a doubleheader. It was a 3:00 late start. Usually the Sunday night games are not going so late these days with the earlier start that they adjusted to, and I was excited for it until the offense just didn't show up. They just stopped showing up. There was a lot of potential fireworks going to happen on the field, I think, and really it happened for the other team, not so much for the Yankees. But you know what?
Yeah.
Adversity, baby. This is. I've asked for this before in the past. Kind of like a masochist, looking for just to see what the character of a particular team is. And this is what it is. This is a little bit of adversity, and we'll get into more adversity with the roster because they definitely have some hurdles to clear that have shown up recently. But we'll see what this team is made up because they have after losing another series, which has been a while, they finally have. Some losses to overcome and some big opponents coming up.
Do you think what adversity specifically are you talking about? Is it we're going to talk about the Donaldson-Anderson stuff?
Yeah.
Is it how the team comes from that, or is it that couple injuries to this roster? The bullpen seems to be struggling all of a sudden, and I mean I think it was just a bad offensive day. For the Yankees, I don't know. I just chalk it up to I don't know. Did they not get sleep? Did the heat? Did all of a sudden it being 95 degrees in New York City just get to them and they couldn't hit anymore? But you're talking about the Donaldson stuff.
I'm not talking. No. I'm not specifically talking about the Donaldson stuff. I think adversity on the field. I'm talking more so in like the win-loss column, straight up. Like this team just hasn't gone through. I mean, this is the first time I saw Logan put a note in there. They haven't lost back-to-back games in quite some time. So they did it. They got their butts kicked on Sunday as well. You know, Kopech shoved the ball down their throats for 7 innings, and they just and sort of Johnny Cueto, throwback to Johnny Cueto. But you know what I mean? Like that is something. Now you're playing Baltimore, and you have Tampa on the horizon. So this is a time where you just got to lock back in. It's only 2 games. You lost a series, but at the same time, like in this young season, it's adversity for this team for sure.
It's the middle. It's not the middle anymore. It's nearing the end of this really long stretch of games that even though they're playing, it seems like Baltimore every other series, which should be easy, it's still tough to not have off days. And I know it was a rain out on Friday, but then you've got to play a doubleheader, and you don't have any off days, and then it's all leading up to Tampa, who has been really good as well and chasing you in the standings. So yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, I do think there's adversity with the Donaldson stuff. Anytime you have to spend mental energy thinking and talking about something off the field, I think that is adversity. And it could have had an impact on how the Yankees performed on Sunday.
It's very possible. Yeah, I think when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about on the field itself. But you're right. I think when you have to answer that many questions and focus about something that's not playing on the field necessarily, but something that's a narrative that's around it. Yeah, your focus is now on something different than actually playing baseball. So I could say the same thing about Chicago. At the same time, they used.
But that's a rallying moment.
That's a rallying moment for them.
Team building moment for them.
Yeah. Well, that one, and then also, yeah, you lose 2 guys. I mean, Luis Gil has been in the minor leagues for the majority of the time, but that's 2 guys in a week that you lost to Tommy John surgery that are with Chad Green, who's absolutely a contributor to this team. He's a big part of the bullpen. And then Luis Gil, who's possibly a contributor, at some point this season. We already saw him pick up 1 start, but, he's a guy that played last year and pitched well and could have been another, option for the Yankees and now no longer is. So they're getting thinner for sure in that bullpen.
And on a doubleheader day, you had to put Higgy and Gallo on the COVID list. They didn't test positive for COVID, but they had symptoms. So you had to call up Florial and you had to put Brantley on the roster. So it's just a lot of moving parts there.
Thank God they had Brantley on the roster. Breaks up the no-hitter.
No.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Donaldson-Anderson stuff. It's the biggest story in baseball right now. And obviously we know what happened last weekend in Chicago with the tag play at third base. And we talked about it right after that. Donaldson's being an agitator. We love it. And then obviously he continued being that agitator this weekend. There was a play at second base early in Saturday's game where he referred to Tim Anderson as Jackie. This is referencing an article on SI in an interview that Tim Anderson said, "I feel like today's Jackie Robinson," talking about how he plays the game loose and fun, and he's not afraid to showboat and celebrate and things like that, which I remember talking after the Field of Dreams game last year when Tim Anderson acted like he won the World Series on that home run, and I had no problem with it. I still have no problem with it. If you have a problem with players celebrating in today's game, then you're just not. I don't know.
You're not going to like baseball today because it's part of the game today. Yeah.
I just flat out don't agree with your opinion. if you're entitled to your opinion, it's just like, enough with this, get off my lawn crap. But the Tim Anderson clearly felt that Donaldson called him Jackie with some racial undertones, and that's why when Donaldson came to the plate, Grandal got in his face and the bench is cleared. No punches thrown, nothing like that, just a lot of yelling. After the game, so when I first heard that Donaldson called Tim Anderson Jackie, my stomach did flips. I was like, oh no, you've got to be kidding me. And then I heard Donaldson's explanation and the context. And I forgot about that article, but Scott, do you remember talking about this? Because I swear we talked about it at the time in 2019.
I vaguely remember talking. I remember talking about the topic clearly of Tim Anderson was front and center with players' celebration even before the Field of Dreams game. I mean, the dude just like throws his bat at the dugout, like screaming. Like the guy is just very animated, and he's always played the game with his emotions, out front and on his sleeve. So he's been part of the topic the entire time.
I heard Donaldson's explanation and I understood the context, and I actually really agree with what Boone said, where he said, at first you just flat out don't say anything, but then he heard the context and understood the context a little bit more, and it's less bad in his opinion, and I do agree with that. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know Josh Donaldson from a hole in the wall. I don't think he had racial intent with calling him Jackie. I think he was making fun of Tim Anderson for the fact that he referred to himself as today's Jackie Robinson, because Jackie Robinson is one of the most impactful people in American history, not just baseball or not just sports history, American history. Okay. You're talking about one of the most impactful people. It was a watershed moment, him breaking the color barrier. And Tim Anderson, yes, he's black, but he called himself today's Jackie Robinson because he's bringing fun to the game. I'm sorry. Like this, again, I'm a white guy on the internet, so you can tell me to shut the fuck up if you want to, but I just don't put those two in the same breath. And I think maybe was a thing around the league when Tim Anderson said that in 2019, because Donaldson talked about, I was on Atlanta and we kind of poked fun at that article. It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of teams around the league poked fun at that article with Tim Anderson, because it's a wild thing to say, frankly. And so I think that's where he was coming from. Now, as David Cohn said, as Boone said, if Tim Anderson felt there were racial undertones, then that's what he felt, and that's what he felt in the moment, and he's entitled to be upset, and he should be upset if he thought there were racial undertones. And Donaldson no one should ever bring race into any sort of shit talking. But as an outsider looking, and I just understanding the context, don't think it was about race when he said that to Tim Anderson.
One of the things about Josh Donaldson we've talked about forever is him being an agitator, and the fact that when he's on other teams you don't like him because of the agitation that he does and the levels that he takes it. Part of me also thinks that Josh Donaldson, the reason he gets that way is because he just keeps going on certain things. And, you know, let's just take everything at face value for what everybody is saying. Okay. So Tim Anderson clearly didn't appreciate the comments. He believed there were racial undertones, as did the rest of his teammates, because clearly he was talking about it with them. So, and then Josh Donaldson uses the conversations and the fact that it was brought up when he was in Atlanta and that they were joking about it. Well, one person sometimes perceive an inside joke or a joke or jest as not a joke, and you shrug it off. And then when a person like Josh Donaldson, who I do believe uses information to his advantage based on reactions of other people, I think he probably identified it at that moment that was maybe something, or maybe he's a little tone deaf to certain situations, and he just kept going and he kept going, and then it got old, and then you're like, you know what, like, this guy keeps harping on something. It's not just about the SI article anymore. It's just you whatever you've said, because we don't know the exact things that were said in the moment. There could have been other, you know, supportive words around these things that give it more context in the moment of Tim Anderson and Josh Donaldson. And clearly there were emotions based off of, and triggers based off of what he said. And Donaldson just strikes me as the guy that just keeps going on something and just keeps poking and just keeps poking and just keeps poking, because that's what he does. That's the type of player he always has been. And I don't know if that's just because, you know, he's tone deaf to a situation. He's got some social awkwardness to him. He's got, you know, whatever it is.
I think he pushes the line.
But he just keeps going and he keeps going. So part of me thinks that he kind of knew what he was doing to an extent. You know, I don't know. Just to agitate, just to like get under the skin.
Oh, absolutely. He's trying to piss Tim Anderson off.
But he also, maybe he didn't, you know, at a point. And again, I'm not reserving judgment on what people think or said that they did, because they've all clearly said their remarks about the way that they felt about this situation. So it's for everybody to really determine what they believe is the truth in the moment here. But what I think is, even if Josh Donaldson knew that it was poking fun at a ridiculous article where Tim Anderson's talking about bringing fun back to the game, the player mentioned, Jackie Robinson, as you mentioned, it's different. It's different, and you can't talk about another black man in today's game while referring to Jackie Robinson and make fun of it in any moment. And you know, years have gone by since that little, if they were joking about it with Atlanta, years have gone by where, you know, this hasn't brought up. And then clearly last week it was brought back up again, and there were feelings about it that were brought out. There were emotions brought about it. My one disconnect that I have is I going back to the last time the Yankees played the White Sox last week, and he called him Jackie for the first time. Clearly Donaldson told his teammates what happened, right? He said, I have to assume that he told his teammates what was said and what was sparked.
I don't know.
If there were racial undertones, if there was a big problem with it, I have to believe that some of those guys in the dugout would have also like told Donaldson to like just stop doing it, lock it up, like what, have a difficult conversation, have a conversation with him. Stanton, Judge, Hicks, like these guys, you know, even CC, who's been extremely outspoken about about, you know, racial equality and all of the things that have been happening about that. I have to believe that someone in that dugout would have said something to him if they believed that it was where it was. So maybe Donaldson didn't position it in the same way to the players in the dugout, but the fact that it came back up again and was brought on by Tim Anderson, and then Grandal, you know, clearly was emotional about it and was sticking up for his guy. You can tell as soon as that started happening. As soon as Grandal was jawing at Donaldson at home plate, I was like, there's something else going on here, because this isn't just a spat that happens on the field. Like, there's something else happening here. And, you know, we didn't know at that point what it was, but clearly there was something going on.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, that we don't know what Donaldson told his teammates after the weekend in Chicago. He could have just said, oh, you know, I was getting under his skin. It's like,
yeah,
you don't know what was said. That's also what I think about, is what is the impact on this Yankees clubhouse from this? Because Donaldson, we've said up until this point in the season, a little bit of agitator can be a good thing for this team, because we think they needed it, and so far it seemed like a good thing for this team. But if he loses the respect of his teammates, specifically like those three players you mentioned, three prominent black players on the Yankees, Judge, Stanton, Hicks, that's going to be a big problem for this clubhouse.
No, for sure. And what we saw though are, Judge was being very vocal about having his back on the field as well, and that was after the moment. So I don't know. I'm not going to speculate about what conversations have been inside the clubhouse, but yeah, if they believe if Josh Donaldson is, if he meant these with malice and a racial undertone and intent to harm in that way, then there will be ramifications in the clubhouse as well. I promise you that.
And ramifications in the league. He'll get suspended. MLB's investigating it. I don't know what they're investigating or how they're going to identify if there were racial undertones. It's a he said, she said type of thing, not calling it he said type of thing.
Yeah.
It's just a phrase. But yeah, it's the first moment in this season where you're just like, really? Really, this we got to talk about this. This is happening. Obviously race is a super important issue, but this is not what this team has been going so well. And it's just don't want something like this derailing this season.
See, that's the other thing too, is like Donaldson uses things to his advantage to get under people's skin. I don't know how much he's thinking about like any of this stuff getting out to the public, or just like if it's a little under the breath comment somewhere. Half the time when you see fights start in any other sport, like some of these comments, however they're derived, are said and then never get heard, and all of a sudden like things break out on the field and you see people getting angry, but you don't hear usually the root of what it is. So I don't know if he's just like ignorant to that fact now that everything is on the surface essentially and open to the public. But yeah, I don't know. He clearly there were two sides of this, and the White Sox took it a very different way than from what Josh Donaldson said that he was said that where this rooted from. So
if we find out more information that does lead to the fact that Donaldson had racial undertones, then obviously I'll have a different opinion on this. I do sort of think this was him just poking fun at a statement that Tim Anderson made, and it was, but you're right. Anytime Jackie Robinson is involved, race is obviously intertwined with that. It can't,
and that's just ignorance on anybody else's part who doesn't think that. Like, of course, Jackie Robinson is different.
But whether you think or don't think that, it is about intent, right? Like, if Donaldson truly had no intent on race and it was just poking fun at the fact that Tim Anderson compared himself to Jackie Robinson as if a player in today's game compared himself to Babe Ruth, then it's like if Bryce Harper called himself today's Babe Ruth, and then when he stepped to the plate was like, hey, what's up, Babe? And it's just like making fun of the fact that like, hey, no one's Babe Ruth. Hey, no one is Jackie Robinson, no matter how important or impactful you might be in today. Like, Jackie Robinson's still the most impactful person. Okay. So if it was just about that, then I think this is something you just move on from, you learn from, and you be better from.
And that's where I just don't think it's correct. I don't believe that, because you can't think that as a person in today's society and understand that Jackie Robinson is not disconnected from race. You just can't. I don't know how you can possibly think that. Saying Jackie Robinson and saying Babe Ruth are two different things. Yes, they are two great baseball players that have played in the past. Yes, I agree. If he said Mickey Mantle, if he said Joe DiMaggio, if he said Stan Musial, you could have said anybody else, and it would have held like squarely on the field. But Jackie Robinson is a symbol in the world in today's game. But so to me, that's just either plain ignorance on Josh Donaldson's part by using that as a button on purpose, or he knew exactly what he was doing, and there was a little bit of both.
Maybe I'm not saying my point correctly. Obviously, Josh Donaldson, even the most ignorant of people know that Jackie Robinson and race go together. And obviously Tim Anderson is black, Jackie Robinson was black. Like, yes, obviously. But if you're not making fun of Tim Anderson for the race part, you're making fun of him just
But that's my point, is you can't distinguish that. You can't distinguish that. That's the thing. Like
Well,
there's a
but
part of this
Tim
where
Anderson's talking about bringing fun to the game, and bringing fun
understand.
to the game is not the same thing as breaking the color barrier.
I understand, but how many people actually can refer to that article and understand what that article is when you're talking about public perception and how this whole thing looks and feels? And again, calculated decisions by Josh Donaldson by saying something like this, like he's completely ignorant to the fact of the other side of what this is, and the other side is so glaringly obvious of what it is perceived as.
Yeah, and we might never know Josh Donaldson's true intent, and I don't know. We'll see what happens of this. If he does, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets suspended.
I have no idea. I don't know what they base that off of or how they come to that conclusion. I don't know.
Anything else you want to say about this?
It's just an unfortunate layer of unnecessary and unneeded narrative along with the team this year right now.
Right. Yeah. We spent 20 minutes on it. Could probably spend an entire episode on it, and it is super important to talk about. Yankees did win that game though on Saturday, so the spark. Obviously, stuff happened after the game. That's really where the tone changed. Just in the moment, you're backing your guys, and the Yankees were able to win that game, hold off the White Sox. The bullpen. King wasn't good. King allowed them back in the inning. Clay Holmes getting the save in that opportunity. Like, Chapman wasn't even a thought in that game. Like, it's very telling what's going on now in the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, the bullpen has the people talk about the Sunday scaries. The Sunday scaries. The Yankees bullpen is exactly that, because when you look at the depth now, depth is a problem. Lucas Licky has gone back to kind of an average guy. He's not the same impact that we saw last year. You're looking at a couple other areas in the bullpen.
Loaizaga's pitching to a 7 ERA and a 5.5.
He's just been terrible, man. His location's been awful. I don't know how you, unless something happened with injury or something's wrong with your body, I don't know how you are the same guy from last year. He's not like he's too old. It's not like there's nothing has reared up that says he should be worse right now at all, besides either flawed mechanics or he's just got a confidence problem. I heard them talk about on the broadcast, but that's a guy that absolutely should rebound to form. There's nothing saying that he shouldn't. If there's an injury that we don't know about, then okay, but other than that, there's no reason why that guy can't return to form. But he needs to, because he hasn't, and he's not shown that he's the same guy that can be relied upon by any means. Clearly not from yesterday's performance either. So,
well, now with Chad Green out, Clay Holmes has been elite. He's got a .41 ERA and a 1.31 expected ERA. He's allowing a 186 weighted on base average, and he's striking out a batter per inning. He's been absolutely elite. King, aside from the hiccup on Saturday and also a hiccup in a recent start, has been elite. Loaizaga, as we just said, been pretty bad. Chapman's allowed a run in now 5 straight appearances. And then the rest of the guys, Castro, Licky, Peralta, I'm sorry, those are middle relief options. So Loaizaga is the guy that needs to step up in this situation right now.
For sure. He absolutely needs to. With Chapman being just completely unreliable at this point, even if let's just say Holmes becomes the quote closer, that's now what? Because now you have Chapman in a situation.
Hold on, did he not become the closer this weekend? He was put in the save situation on Saturday. Chapman didn't pitch on Friday. Chapman didn't pitch since Tuesday in Baltimore. Boone went to Holmes on Saturday, and then brought in Chapman in a tie game on Sunday.
On a tie game at home. On a tie game at home, that's when you use your closer as well. So
Holmes is now the closer.
No, probably not. You asked Boone that question, he ain't gonna answer that same question. This is gonna go by committee. This
I know
is exactly
Boone.
what I've been
I don't
talking
care
about.
what Boone said. I'm not talking about what Boone says.
Who has the most you saying who the closer is? Again, you need to get off of the defined nature of that role, because that's not what this is.
3-2 game.
Chapman is the closer. Chapman is the closer.
Game tonight. 3-2 game. Who pitches tonight?
Chapman is the closer. He's the guy in the closer role, and then you have everybody else who can pitch. Who has the most trust right now? No doubt about it. It's Holmes. No doubt about it. Like, Chapman is not that guy, but Chapman's also, after yesterday, dealing with an Achilles injury that nobody knew about. So they're talking about this Achilles injury as being the reason why he's doing this. You can't sit here and say that he's not the closer anymore. He's dealing with an injury now. There's something along with that.
It doesn't matter why you're not the closer anymore.
But here's the problem. But Andrew, when you have Holmes as the closer, let's say he's the ninth inning guy, where does Chapman pitch? Now you're losing an eighth inning guy and a ninth inning guy because Chapman hasn't pitched well anywhere else beyond the ninth inning in recent history.
So you're gonna just pitch Chapman in a save situation because he can't pitch anywhere else? No, I'm sorry. Chapman will pitch when Holmes has pitched on back-to-back days. Yes, he'll get a save opportunity, or he'll pitch in the ninth inning of a tie game.
Who's pitching in the eighth inning?
Cross your fingers that he doesn't suck that day and gives the team a chance to win. But tonight, Monday, Tuesday, if there's save situations, Holmes is getting that save opportunity.
Yeah, well, don't get twisted. He's injured, so that's why. Don't get it twisted. He's injured, so don't come back and start beating your chest because Chapman doesn't pitch in a close game. He's injured. His Achilles is injured.
I just told you, Holmes is the closer right now. It doesn't matter why. That's just fact.
He's the most trusted guy in the bullpen. I will say that.
Yes.
But also, like in a moment, if it's the seventh or eighth inning, goes back to our fireman role conversation that we've had in the past. If the game can be saved in the eighth inning, can it not?
It can. I don't know if Boone will use Holmes in the seventh inning, though. I think he's going to save him for eighth inning or ninth inning.
So I mean that's we'll find out what he's gonna how he's gonna approach those games. But if you don't have a trusted closer, I think you need to start looking at that approach as well. Is the eighth inning the top of the lineup in a close game? You should probably put your best guy in at that point and hope that someone else can get through the bottom of the lineup for a quote save situation.
Yeah, whatever it is, someone else is going to need to step up. You can't just rely on Holmes and King and then cross your fingers that Chapman's good that night. You have to have someone else step up.
So where I think this changes the bullpen dynamic completely as well, and this is I think a move that they're gonna have to make is Michael King's gonna have to step into a 1 inning prominent role so that he can pitch more often. So him coming out and pitching 2 to 3 innings. Every 3-4 days, whatever it is, I don't think they can afford to do that anymore. I think they're going to need to either piece those innings together with other guys and hope for the best and hope someone can emerge from the minor leagues potentially. But they're gonna need a guy that's reliable in the 7th or 8th inning or the 9th inning, depending on the given day. And I think Michael King's clearly the guy that they could look to for that. So it's going to change the dynamic of the bullpen, though, if they have to move him into a 1 inning spot. But I think it's probably at this point best for the team because they just don't have a lot of reliable options right now in the back of the pen, and they need them.
I think the plan on Saturday was to have King go at least 2 innings, and he was just bad, so they had to divert from that plan. But overall, I mean, the pitching this weekend was good. Nestor was facing the White Sox for second start in a row, and that's been happening a lot with the Yankees because they're just seemingly playing the same teams over and over again. So he wasn't as good this time out. He almost had the no-hitter the previous time. It wasn't as good. He still pitched 5 innings. And then the starting pitching on Sunday for the Yankees was fantastic. That was Taillon's best outing of the year. Last episode, we talked about how he struggled with the facing the lineup for the second time. He got in a little bit of jam when he was facing the top of the order for a second time, but he worked his way through it. First time he pitched 7 innings. And then Severino, yes, he had to pitch out of trouble seemingly every inning on Sunday Night Baseball, but he was really good as well. It's just the offense wasn't there.
No, the offense was. I mean, Severino got in and out of trouble quite often. He gave up a ton of hits, but was able to
bases loaded, nobody out, and he just somehow escaped with 2 force out at home.
Yeah, how many hits did he give up? Nine hits. I think it was something like 8 or 9 hits on the day. I mean, he had base runners on quite often, but yeah, man, Vincent Severino, where he's able to just like lock it up and get through this and really rear back. And I swear to God, his fastball is so beautiful. It's got such good movement on it, and that the eye test here is the swing and miss rate of his fastball just looks good. Looks like guys can't see it very well, or it gets on them much faster. But it's fun to watch him in those moments. Actually, I have a lot of confidence in him compared to other people in moments like that.
So, what do you think it was with the offense on Sunday? Was it just Chicago's pitching was that good? They scored 1 run in 18 innings, and they were shut out for only the 4th time this year, but it was the first time since April.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Cueto gives you a different look. He's a different type of guy for sure. He gives you that hesitation move with he still got some pop on his fastball, so he looked good. He didn't look like totally off of the vintage Johnny Cueto, to be honest. But he looked good. So a throwback session for him if he's back in form, and I can't imagine it lasting all that long, but he looked very good. And then Kopech, dude, yeah. It was about the pitching. Kopech was nasty. He's been nasty. He's been nasty all year, and he didn't walk guys this time. That was the thing. If he can locate, if he could be around the strike zone, he's damn difficult to hit. It looks like he's put on a lot of weight too, like good weight, like pitcher stud weight. Yeah, he got some ass behind him now. Like he's a healthy looking dude. But no, he's impressive.
The offense was struggling so much. They had the one scoring opportunity in game 1 in the 7th inning when Hicks and IKF singled to start the inning. They get Cueto out of the game. Joe Kelly comes in, and Marwin's up, and he strikes out. He's not bunting. I think you have to bunt in that situation. You have to read the situation, read the offense struggling right now. You got to move those runners up. Marwin Gonzalez, I don't trust him with first and second. And then Hicks, freaking taking a snooze at second base out to lunch, gets picked off the very next batter, and c'est la vie that inning.
I mean, Aaron Hicks, in the way that you have been playing, the way that this fan base has been all over you, how can you possibly at home camp out on second base and get picked off? I mean, he was picked off by a good amount too. Who was it? Josh Harrison, I think, playing second base. I mean, he was camped at second. He was standing on the bag for a good second plus. And Hicks is just not moving, like he's about to steal. But there's a guy standing on second base waiting for a throw to be made that does receive the throw and proceeds to tag you out.
It was a brain dead play. It was a brain dead play. It's one of those where I don't understand what Hicks was thinking. It was just brain dead. Bad brain
Yeah, you're
dead
looking back
baseball.
like, there's my guy is standing on second base, but Hicks is not moving. He's not moving. In fact, he's taking further steps towards third base. I'm going to pick you off now. Like that was as slow as that just was said. That's how slow it all transpired in front of our eyes. And yeah, he was stuck in quicksand.
Hicks, Florial gets a start. He was called up for the doubleheader roster extra guy. I think he's getting sent back down, right? But Hicks, especially he's not getting sent down because of Gallo being on the COVID list. So Florial's staying up. Not that Florial really did anything, and he struck out in a big.
He's got bad at bats, man. He's got really the same problem with him as always been the knock. I remember talking with Ben Badler about this like 3 years ago when he was Ben Badler's with Baseball America. We were talking about Florial. I think when he was in like single A or double. I think he was at single A at the time. And one of the biggest knocks on him was plate discipline. And it's always been a problem. Him identifying balls and strikes and being disciplined at the plate to take your walks or, identify where you're going to attack in the strike zone. He just still can't do it. I mean, he had a 2-0 count in that last at bat and swung on 2 straight fastballs that were up in the zone that were balls. And when Kopech was finally showing that he was faltering with his location.
When the fact that Florial's coming up in that situation and Kopech's finally showing a little crack, you're like, well, he's going to eat this rookie alive. Like, it's just a mismatch.
It is a mismatch, but at the same time, it's just like you were at a 2-0 count at that point too. If you're in the major league uniform, I need you to take a pitch. I need you to take a pitch.
So who does at this point, because Hicks has been so bad, as Logan put this told us the stat right before we started recording, he's popped up 15% of the time this year, which is like double league average. Okay, so all Hicks is doing is popping up. What do you do? Do you give Florial a couple starts? Just Hicks, you're sitting on the bench. Sorry, we're playing Florial. See if he can do anything, because you can't be less productive than Hicks right now.
Yeah, he also had a blunder in the outfield too.
Yep, it's not good. It wasn't good. It was not good. Not a good game for Florial.
Misjudged the ball, and it ended up hurting. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think you have to, but your options with Florial at the plate aren't really much better. They're just that's saying less than a lot, less than nothing. But you almost have to just hope that Hicks gets through it. I don't know. You don't have a ton of options. That's the answer. Aaron Judge plays more center field.
Right, but with Gallo, especially now
With
because
Gallo
Gallo's
injured,
on the COVID list, LeCastro is still on the IL.
Yeah, give me Andujar. I'm serious. Put him back.
No, at this point, I'm with you. It's like, what else do? You stick Andujar in left field,
Yeah,
and you take him out in the 7th inning.
Fine,
and that's it.
Yeah, he can hit.
He can't possibly be less productive than Aaron Hicks. That's my new saying. You can't be less productive than Aaron Hicks.
But that's just disrespectful to Miguel Andujar and the the approach he takes at the plate. Like, the guy can hit. We know the guy can hit.
I hope he can still hit. It's been 5 freaking years. Okay,
the man can hit. He's got that the quality, the bat to ball quality. And I don't think he's abysmal in the field. I think he's fine for a time being. Like, they should give him an opportunity, especially if Gallo's out. I mean, Gallo's not going to be out for long, but he can go into left field, not center, but left.
All right, let's quickly touch on the Chad Green thing. So obviously, I just feel terrible for Chad Green. The reliever burnout, I think, is like a real factor, and I think we've seen it with Chad Green. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that's why he needs Tommy John surgery, but he was already diminishing over the past couple of years. He was put in a lot of trusted spots in 2021, and he failed. But this is just, I know it's his free agent year. Feel bad for the guy.
I feel terrible for him. It's as soon as we heard forearm, that's you go to the worst place, and that's what happened for him. It's bad. It's also bad for the team, to be quite frank, and to be less about the guy itself. It's terrible for the team, because this really is a big, as much as Chad Green hurt the Yankees last year, he's still a big piece of the bullpen. And this is a different year. For the most part, he was pitching better, but he's a big piece of it. And a guy that can go in there and have quality innings, get big outs, and just another depth piece. Now someone else is going to have to take those innings. And you're looking at who's going to take these innings as we're getting into the season, not just May 23rd, but I'm looking at June, July. Like, they're going to have to make a move probably for some pitching come trade deadline, but. It's a big deal. It's a big deal when you're looking at what this bullpen is going to look like at the end of the year. Not having Chad Green really changes the picture.
Now, obviously, Domingo Herman is coming back from injury, so who the hell knows? But what if Domingo Herman could move into the multi-inning bullpen role that King is currently in, and you move King to a 1-inning role? And this assumes that Herman comes back and is good, and assumes that King goes to a 1-inning role and is good. Like, there's a lot of assumptions here, but maybe that's an option.
I think it is an option. He's a guy that's been stretched out in the past. Obviously, he can throw more than 1 inning. In fact, he doesn't really throw 1 inning, Domingo Herman. But, yeah, I like I said, I think
he's not going to start right now. He's not going to take one of the 5 starter jobs. So
no, he's not. So you use him
other way.
You use him as depth in the minor league, stretch him out as much as you can, and then possibly bring him up for that middle role. But they're going to have to change King and his approach. And I don't know how fast you can do that, because he's gotten into a rhythm of pitching, 2, 3, 4 innings sometimes, and with the rest in between. And if they're to look at him and say, hey, we need you to be this lockdown guy at the back of the pen now, whether it's the 7th, 8th, potentially 9th inning, depending on a given day, we're gonna have to change the way that you're getting ready and the way that you're resting, and that's not something that happens immediately.
I think because pitching 2 or 3 innings, 35, 45 pitches, then taking a couple days off, that's more similar to being a starting pitcher, which is what Michael King is, than being a short inning guy. So anytime he's been used in short innings, it's been emergency, like when he had to save Chapman and stuff like that.
Right. But I think that they're going to have to be intentional about this because of their lack of options. And I do think that he's a very good option for it. It doesn't maximize what he's done in the pen over the stretches that he's had with the longer innings and the longer outings, but I think we talked about this last time. I don't know how sustainable that is throughout the entire year. It's probably not sustainable, and maybe we're seeing a little bit of that now with his last 2 outings. He's showing a little bit of some issues arise. So maybe we bottle this up and he goes 1, 2 innings max, and he's that kind of guy that can fill in 7th and 8th inning.
Do they just rely on the starting rotation? Because the starting rotation has been a strength.
Yeah.
So do you rely on the starting rotation more? If it's the 6th inning and your choice is Castro or pushing Tyon another inning or pushing Montgomery another inning, trust the starter maybe.
Yeah, it's possible for sure. I think that they have a lot of trust in but you also have to look at, this is a conversation that I was hovering on Reddit, as I do often these days. There's, conversation. I saw a topic about where are the arms, where are the innings going to come from at the end of the year when you look at this rotation as well. There's a lot of question about if you look towards August, September and project out how many innings these guys are throwing that are in this rotation right now. There need to be innings found somewhere because, are they going to go Severino? Is Severino going to throw the entire time?
Before the season started. Yeah. We talked about that before the season started.
It's becoming a reality. Nestor Cortez, you're looking at Jameson Taillon. Are they going to limit his innings at some point? So yes, you can rely on the starting pitching, but to an extent, you can't do it too much. Where now all of a sudden you're in August, September, and you're in a bigger problem because these guys are either completely fatigued or they're up against some kind of a limit that's been set. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. You need some guys to step up, is what you need.
What if you? Well, the rotation has had nothing but guys stepping up.
No, I mean in the bullpen.
What if you go to a hybrid 6-man rotation? I feel like we say this every year. It's just like, in theory it works, and then in practice it never works.
I mean, that's the other thing. You're risking. So Clark Schmidt's a guy that would be the sixth man, right?
Or Herman coming back.
Clark could also enter into a middle of the game Michael King type situation where he's more of a 3-inning guy, or he comes in and plays that role. That's also a potential. So, but again, young guy, you're messing with his development. Feels like the Jabba Phil Hughes situation where like, hey, let's do this with you. No, we're gonna do that with you. No, we're gonna do this with you. No, we're gonna do that with you.
Yeah.
I don't want
snip,
that.
snap. Do you know how many vasectomies a toll takes on a person? All right. Well, let's pick a game to throw some cash on this week, and we're going to do so with WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. They bring the excitement of the Wynn Las Vegas Casino to your device. Boosted same-game parlays and live in-game odds on every major sport. WynnBET has what you need. You can sign up today and receive a special offer. Bet $50 and win $200 using code XBlueWire. All right, so the over-under on tonight's game, Monday night's game, is 8.5. It was the same as last week. I took the under, and I was right. You took the over, and you were wrong. Now, hoping for an offensive bounce back from the Yankees today, so maybe you want to bet the over in that situation, but Garrett Cole is pitching, and he doesn't give up a lot of runs, especially to the Orioles, especially coming off a day in which you've lost 2 games. You look for Garrett Cole to go out there and shove. The over/under on the Baltimore runs is 2.5. Now, that might be tasty to bet the under there.
2.5 is a tough line to bet on, to be honest.
Live a little.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all, especially after just talking about what the bullpen has done. If Cole can't go eight innings, then I don't know who's throwing at the end of the day besides, I guess, Chad Holmes is. But no, I would actually take the under on this one in the total games. In the total runs, I think it's Lyles has also been tough against the Yankees in his last start. I think he's definitely settled in. He got into trouble early and then settled in. So I would take the under on today's game. Last week, again, I thought that game was at Yankee Stadium. Thinking about this week because they play the same people over and over again, within like 2 weeks at a time. So yeah, I like the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, but they've been here. They know it. They've been here. It's not like they're showing up again.
They've just seen this pitching repeatedly. It's the same guys. We're talking about the same matchups every single week. Jordan Lyles, Bruce Zimmerman, like these are just the same matchups over and over again. At this point,
and normally
when you look at that, of at-bats, a lot of at-bats against all these guys.
Fourth start that Montgomery's coming up. Lyles, this is his 4th start against the Yankees. When I see
that's such a tough position to put a pitcher in. It doesn't matter how good of a pitcher you are.
Right.
The more times a batter sees you, the better he's going to be.
You also have seen the batter, so you know how to get them out also. But I would give that advantage
works in the batter's
more
favor.
To Garrett Cole than Jordan Lyles against the Yankees team. I would give that advantage to Garrett Cole. The Yankees have a ton of tape and a ton of information about these Orioles hitters who just aren't very good in the first place. And I believe that Garrett Cole can execute a game plan against this team, knowing all of the things that they know. Like, this is a perfect situation for him to attack weaknesses, and he's the type of guy who can do that very well. So I do think the under of the 8.5 tonight.
Both Montgomery and Zimmerman have faced the Yankees and the Orioles 3 times already. This is gonna be their 4th start, each of them, against these teams this year, and it's not even the end of May yet. That's imbalanced scheduling if there ever has been one. So again, we don't know what the over under on Tuesday's game is going to be, but I might bet the over in that Tuesday game. I agree with you though. Taking the under on tonight's game does, I think, make sense. I think Garrett Cole's going to be very good, and I just think the Yankees, I don't know, hopefully they can flip a switch, but looked so lifeless yesterday that I don't know, I could see a 5-2 game or something like that. All right, again, you can download the WinBet app and use code XBlueWire to get that special offer. We will be picking games every week. Let's get to some mailbags before we wrap this up. The first one comes from Monkey Marcus, and he's commented on YouTube. By the way, we're posting the full episodes up on YouTube now. You can go check those out if you want to watch us in addition to listening to us. Scott, did you ever play baseball?
Yes, I did. I played baseball. I played baseball in high school, and then I stopped playing baseball also in high school, and started playing summer league when I got into college. Played summer league for like 7 years.
What does that mean, summer league? Like
it's
an adult league, or?
Yeah. Oh, well, part of the seasons were wood bat league, and so it's a bunch of guys that do play, guys who play casually, but also guys who play in school. It's basically like a summer league for them to stay playing baseball.
So this is serious. This isn't like,
it's definitely serious. It's fun, but it's also it was very serious. And there were some really good ball players that played in the league. So we played every Sunday. It was usually a doubleheader. And the guys on my team, like I had a guy who played at Arkansas, pitched at Arkansas, a guy that played at Louisville, a guy that played at Central Texas, a guy that played at another small school in the Midwest. So a bunch of college ball players that were playing in this league and played in that for like 6+ years. So that was probably the most fun I've ever had playing baseball.
What position were you?
That was also the league where, how serious was this? This was also the league where I took myself out playing first base at one point because I was drinking vodka tonics or Red Bull vodkas in the parking lot. So we were very much drinking a lot as well. But on Sunday, like, there were guys throwing
the game.
There were guys throwing. This is the league that Jose Lima played in as well, and there were like major leagues the guys that would come into this league when they were rehabbing in Norfolk with the Tides. Sometimes they would sprinkle into our league and play because they knew some of the guys.
What is this league? You've got professional players rehabbing and freaking Scott playing first base shit-faced.
And I had an outfielder's glove, and the thing kept folding over. It was such a shitty glove at the time. I pulled myself out in the middle of it.
I'm getting mixed messages here. You're like, oh yeah, I'm facing like college athletes. Like they were throwing.
They were definitely college. Yeah,
I was slugging vodka sodas in the dugout.
You know, this was like late college and then after college too. So we were still partying a lot too, and we had a fun team.
I get that, but like
we had a lot of fun. But no, when we got on the field, it was dead serious. I just had a couple too many that time.
Did any of the pitchers get a little too buzzed and get wild?
No, not really. But we did go up against guys that were, drafted. I remember this kid, Kyle Dubois, who was drafted by the Dodgers. His brother played for the Indians, I think in the bigs as well. Big Virginia Beach kid. He was on our team, and he also played against us, throwing 90, 95 miles per hour. So it was no joke. And then I've coached, and then I coached.
Then you stopped after the. I know you've played.
I stopped because playing Sundays is just a toll on your body, and I couldn't. I would go Sunday.
Maybe the vodka sodas were a toll on your body.
It was Red Bull vodka, so it was a lot of hype, and it was an upper
so
and
you were
downer.
balancing it out.
Yeah. And the reason I stopped playing in the first place was because I had elbow issues, and I couldn't lift my arm until like the next Friday or Saturday, and then do it all over again. So yeah, it was pretty brutal. But then I coached. I've been coaching Little League for years. I coached right after college at Pony Ball for 5 years, and then coached my nephew's Little League team with my brother-in-law for 5 years, and now I'm a assistant T-ball coach for the Yankees.
When is the last time you've gotten to a batting cage? Like not softballs, but like actual like fast pitch batting cage.
It's been a while. 7 years.
I think this was it was before the pandemic, so it was either 2018 or 2019 summer. I went to a batting cage. It was rough. It was a lot of rust shaking. I was like, I'm going to the fast one. It was probably 90, maybe 90 miles an hour.
Usually
tops.
those are like 80, and then
they're only 80. Okay,
it's not as fast as you think it is. Yeah.
If you're asking me, it was Garrett Cole pumping 97. Okay, because I think I foul tipped a couple of them on the 12 swings or whatever that I took. I never played baseball past high school. No summer leagues for me. I was a catcher though, and I tore my meniscus my junior year, so I had to stop that year. But my peak playing baseball was, I was just talking to Logan about this, my little league team, I think it was my 12-year-old, it was either my 11 or 12-year-old year. I can't remember. We went to the state semifinals, so had we won that, we would have gone to the regionals, and then we would have been in the Little League World Series. We were like 10 games away from the Little League World Series, but the further I get away from that story, it's like we needed one more game, and then we were going to be on ESPN, baby.
Yeah. No, it's I'm glad your peak was at 12 years old for baseball.
Yeah, whatever. Isn't it for most people? Their peak is 12-year-old.
Usually, there's no identifiable peak, to be honest.
Next question we got on Twitter. We were tagged by Matt Sterling on Twitter, and Mike Carbone asked, how many regular season home runs do you think Aaron Judge finished his career with? He's currently at 170, and he just turned 30 last month. Well, he's at 172 home runs now because he hit a couple since then, and he's played about 4.5 full seasons to this point. 2017, 2018, 2019. If you combine 2020 and 2022 so far, and then a full season of 2021, it amounts to about 4.5 full regular seasons. Obviously, he's been injured for part of that. He's hit a home run about once every 15 plate appearances in his career. If he plays 10 more years, so this is the math I did. If he plays 10 more seasons, which I think is what he would put a goal at, right? Like, especially with this next contract, he wants to play till he's 40. He would have to average about 40 home runs in his prime and then slowly decline, but still hit 30 home runs in his later years. And he would barely reach 500 home runs. So if anyone's thinking he's going to be in the 500 home run club, I think he's a little bit too old at this point to get there.
He got started too late.
He started. That's what I'm saying. He started too late. He started at 26, 27 years old.
Right.
You gotta start when you're 22, right? You gotta be like
or
Miguel
younger.
Cabrera. Yeah. So he's not getting there. Even 400 home runs, I think, is going to be tough because it means he's gonna have to bash 40 home runs in his prime years, play till his late 30s, and still be able to hit 25, 28 home runs in his later years. But I think if you're taking like an over-under of 400, that might be a tough one. But I feel like 400 might be doable.
I feel like a number like 350 would bait a hell of a lot more
Probably.
people. Yeah.
And
that would be if I were to
370.
hear like a Vegas line on that one, I bet it would be closer. It would be under 400, I think. It would probably be like 350, 375, something like that to bait enough people be like, "Oh yeah, he could do this." But also understanding that, things are going to slow down for him as he gets older. I mean, we'll see. We haven't seen him slow down by any means. In fact, he's just gotten better and better. And
he's
healthy,
playing
he's
better
great.
than he's ever. I think he's playing better right now than
he's
maybe
locked
he's
in.
ever played.
He's got. You talk about plate discipline. This is the type of guy where you look at what Florial has not been able to do. Judge has been the complete opposite of that. When he came up, he was striking out at 50% clip almost. So it was pretty crazy. In
His stance was totally
2016.
different. I know you talked to his hitting coach back in 2017, I believe it was. Really good episode. Like, it's in our back catalog. Go check it out. What was his hitting coach's name?
It's Hitter Man. He's definitely caught in some flack on the internet, I think, since
Right,
then.
I forgot about that.
But no, it's just about his pitching mechanics, his hitting mechanics, the way that he teaches hitting. I think a lot of people have a different response, but the proof is in the pudding with Aaron Judge and the way that he's done things. He changed it completely. His bat was is a lot more level through the entire swing, whereas So he's able to make contact at different points of where the ball is, whether it's out front, whether it's behind the plate, and his bat just has a longer time through the zone, so that he can. And that's why you see those moonshots go to right field that it normally would be foul. He's keeping them fair, and they're going into right field. So he made the adjustments. But the thing about Aaron Judge too, like hitting coach aside, every level he went up, if you remember, like he made the adjustment on every level in the minor leagues even, and then going up, like he did what he had to do to make that adjustment. And, seemingly now the adjustment was, hey, stay healthy. Make sure you're staying on the field. And he's so far, knock on wood, done the things that he needs to do to stay on the field and stay healthy so far. Knock on wood. Knocking on all of the wood.
Somewhere between 350 and 400 if things stay healthy for him. Yeah,
I think so. And those are damn good seasons still.
Yeah, 30-plus home run seasons. It's not easy to get to that many home runs. Like Miguel Cabrera got there and has 3,000 hits, but he was playing baseball in the majors when he was like 19 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to put a lot of things together to get there. You have to be a Hall of Fame baseball player, and you have to be able to have the longevity, stay healthy, and be in the game for
2 decades.
15, 20 years. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. The last one is just a suggestion from our pal Lee Jones in Liverpool, England, because on a recent episode you mentioned that you can't get into soccer because you don't have a team to root for.
Yeah.
And obviously, being from Liverpool, he suggests Liverpool Football Club to root for. So there's your team.
Don't ever do the accent again. Again, it's missing. The whole point is that it's missing the emotional connection. I can't just be like, "Oh, team, I'm gonna follow you," and then just be like.
But that's what a lot of these guys we met from the UK.
They did that. I know, Yankees. But I'm talking about me personally. Like, I can't do that. I don't have that switch in my brain.
I don't either. I don't even have it. I don't have it for basketball. I don't have it for hockey. I enjoy watching those sports when they're on and it's the playoffs. Like, I'll throw on a basketball game or a hockey game and I have fun watching it, but I don't give a shit who wins or loses.
Yeah, and frankly, it's for me at this point in my life, it's actually quite the opposite. Like, I have the ability to turn something off much easier than I can turn it back on. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's a tough one. I want to, and I will watch the World Cup. And we'll see how much I can get into it with the World Cup. Problem is they're all scattered everywhere. When you look at the players, they're playing in all these different places. So, maybe I'll fall in love with a player, and then that will take me to a team. Who knows?
Yeah, the old cliche or trope that soccer is boring. Like, I actually do not agree with. I do not find it a boring sport. I find it entertaining. It's just, again, making that connection to a team and players that I've had trouble with. And same said for other sports.
I'm done spinning the narrative that soccer is boring, because I think I don't understand. Not that I don't understand it. I believe I understand it, but I don't.
They have to kick the ball in the goal.
Correct. I don't. I never appreciated all the level of strategy and the level of gameplay within the game itself. I made judgments probably too fast, and would also I would see the guys look like they were getting sniped like every other play, and that would drive me nuts. Like, I can't stand the falling down when you don't even get touched like that. The antics still bother me a bit, but now you see it in almost every major sport. So
listen, I think there's just as many people or more out there that would say baseball is a boring sport as soccer is a boring sport. Sure. So we're not ones to talk about the sport that we love.
I get it. That's why I'm no longer spinning that narrative. I'm going to give it an honest shot.
All right. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Lee. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Mike and Matt and Money Marcus. A lot of M's sending us some questions. We do have a couple voicemails, which we will play, so enjoy those, and we will talk to you guys later this week.
Scott, I have to call you out. Carolyn in Buffalo. You defended Gary Sanchez for a long time, and it always bothered me. I'm a long-time listener. Always bothered me. So Andrew's got you on this one. You were a Sanchez lover, let's face it. Bye-bye.
Dun, 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 dun. Aaron Judge, Back up the truck, baby. Pay that man.
Give the man a lifetime contract with a blank check. Y'all know who I'm talking about.
Maybe I'm just spoiled because I grew up in the era of Mariano Rivera, but I am just never going to get used to the fact that Chapman coming into the game makes me feel worse, not better. I never like to watch him out there sweating bullets, walking people, blowing game, as he just did tonight, Saturday night. I know that when he's on, he's the best, but when he's off, I can't even watch him. And so I always watch with a hand over my face. I'm tired of it.
I am absolutely tired of Hicks. It's been too many years of bullshit. It's not injuries. It's when he plays, he's just not producing, not doing anything to help the team, but his shitty-ass walks. I'm over it. Like, trade him somewhere, eat half the contract. Like, trade him for anything at this point. I'm tired of him. He's just doing nothing for us, and I'm fucking over it. Let's fucking go. We need bats that can actually fucking hit.
This was a terrible loss by the Yankees, both games. Offense not hitting, chasing too many balls out of the strike zone, especially Stanton. So we need to get back, or we're going to be in trouble, because our bullpen, too. That's all I got to say. Very disappointed.